Behold my sword of light. Well, it's my second day back or so in my own house. Fucking finally. Here is a Kirin Ichiban. And since I have facial hair now, again, I feel highly French. French. Right. So, been in hotels for weeks, months, since September or so. Ergo, that, coupled with my natural slacking abilities, my procrastination, as it were, has seen very sparse content. So this is an update of sorts. Now, how interesting that this should be a Kirin Ichiban beer, a Japanese beer, when I was supposed to already have uploaded and done a video on the Shindo Renmei, Japanese, I guess you could call it a terrorist organization, existed in Brazil after World War II that refused to believe that the emperor had been defeated by the Allied forces, and then went kind of on a killing spree, killing Japanese that they didn't feel like were loyal in their area, and also, I don't know if they actually attacked outsiders, but it was a very strange insular group, and I found out about it because of my writings, and it's just, and then I went all over the place, and I thought, let's look up all this information on Japan, their history. Then, I was learning about the Meiji and the Restoration era and all of that. And about, I don't know, I think it was Admiral Percy or some such guy. Just a whole crazy clusterfuck of events. And then I also saw people tackling this issue from all kinds of political angles, and they pointed out, Japanese atrocities and things during World War II, which, there were a lot of atrocities on many sides in World War II, but it's just, I was very surprised about the Nanking incident. And one YouTuber was talking about how it's kind of swept under the rug in Japan, which, yeah, I'm sure it was, but to me, there's kind of an angle when a lot of people start talking about that, oh, well, Japan is trying to hide from its imperial ambitions, and there was nothing in history that kind of made imperial ambitions particularly appealing to the Japanese, as if they were just these crazy mad dogs that wanted to go out and conquer everything. Maybe there were certain elements among them that were, but I think as a whole, as a nation, the events of World War II, the economic situation, opening up to the West, and being a small island nation will inevitably cause you to go a little bit crazy, a little bit overboard. I'm not making apologetics for anybody. I just think that it's important to not inject kind of ideologically based judgments onto historical events. Not anything new that people haven't said before, but things don't have to be new. Things just need to be repeated sometimes. Often I have conversations and just discussions with people, and I come to the realization that things that are obvious to me are not obvious to them. And it's especially interesting when I feel the person is as clever or cleverer than I am. And I come away feeling like, I kind of thought this was common knowledge, or at least such a logical conclusion that I wouldn't have to lead you through the steps of reasoning, that you would arrive at it on your own. But that's the thing. There's steps in reasoning, and also, missing bits of data that have had to be explained to me that other people thought were like, well, that's a no-brainer. So that's the point of conversations and I guess vlogs and ultimately all this kind of stuff. Speaking of which, I definitely want to improve my game, but I don't want to do it under this pressure, which it seems to be that YouTube wants more kind of traditional television content. That they don't want this talking head stuff that I'm doing. These amateurs, kind of people that talk about odds and ends of history or politics or whatnot. But I also they don't want that, and to a degree I sympathize with, hey, you're taking a bandwidth, so put your best amount of effort forward. But at the same time, people don't necessarily have the time. And one of the things that YouTube is great for, it is getting ideas out there without necessarily having to go into a giant production about it. That's why it's such a fertile discussion ground. And I understand the economic ramifications of having to run all these servers, but I don't know. I think it's sustainable. I think that there's just too much focus on making this space kind of not even friendly, but just kind of policed, to where, because there's so much energy being focused on that and this kind of traditional monetization model, that alternative ways of generating revenue and getting all of this stuff working in a way that's not economically catastrophic for Google is not being considered to the full extent of the powers that I think that these individuals have. Now, I could be absolutely wrong. I'm not looking at their data sheets and all of that stuff, but I feel like I'm somewhere in the ballpark. I don't know if that's vague, if that makes any sense, but I thought I would put that out there. Okay, I picked up this copy of Bertrand Russell's The History of Western Philosophy a while back, and I believe I might have actually read the whole thing, but I did not. I got certain snippets of it committed to memory, and I got an overall idea of the progression, but I've got to reread this, because, when I study something like the history of Western philosophy, it kind of gives you causal links, I think. It lets you understand how certain new ideas that have never been seen before are likely to play out based on how old ideas have played out. There's also just all sorts of interesting odds and ends. I don't know if it was in this book right here or elsewhere, where he talked about Alexander the Great and how he considered the Celtic chieftains as being these smug, strutting idiots. It's just, I don't know, little jabs like that I find entertaining, kind of like ancient shit talking. Does anybody else, or am I just weird? It's not a bad beer. Let's see, what is this? First press, 100% malt. Yeah, I never knew what a malt was. Like, what is a malt? Let's look that up. Let's look up what a malt is. This is the magic of the internet. Whew. What exactly is a malt? Malt is a product that is left over after a cereal grain has been dried, allowed to sprout, air dried again, and heated in an oven. Any variety of cereal grains, including rice, wheat, oats, and rye, can be used to make a malt. So, dried grains. And since beer is made with hops and things like that, I assume those are the dried grains that are being spoken of. Fancy that. Let's see. Let's look at my old idea board here. Yeah, there's a lot of stories that I've just kind of let sit there because I did not feel that I had the focus requisite to sit there and just bang them out. I felt that if I started just posting again, that the stories would veer in a really strange direction, and I would be forcing it. I'm also kind of taking care of an elderly family member, and it's just me doing it. And again, I'm 30 years old. I have led a somewhat bohemian hipstery lifestyle, and I'm not exactly the most organized person, and I work a really crazy schedule over at UPS. So that's been tough. I'm not trying to whine or anything. I'm just saying if you're in a situation where things are relatively stable, you better capitalize on that creatively, because stuff goes awry so quickly. And if you don't have a firm foundation of creative output, of just kind of a discipline of what you do, you're just gonna find yourself stagnating, which is what I've been doing. Yeah. See, like all that I could really muster today after cooking and taking care of medicine for people and running around and going to work is this little vlog here. So it's definitely something you should consider if you find yourself with some time on your hands. Go ahead and get to that grindstone, because you don't want to end up sitting in your little office and feeling like, well, I could have done this and that, but now at this late point in the evening, I'm just gonna sit here and make a vlog. Little historical tidbit. I'm looking at an old textbook from my community college days, and it's a music textbook from a music appreciation class. And in it, there was a quote from Mozart about how everybody's like, oh, he's this genius. And he's like, no, I actually worked really hard to study all of the composers of the past ages that were available to me. And everything that I have gained in terms of skill and knowledge has pretty much come from hard work. So there we go. If you have the opportunity to work hard at creative endeavors, do it. If you don't, try to squeeze it in there as best you can. Just because it's so worth it. I feel that people will be so much more fulfilled if they were able to take the creative spark that they have and light a big old fire. I know I've said these kinds of things over and over again, but again, there is a certain point to repetition. Right on. All right, folks. I think I'm going to go. I hope you have a lovely evening, and I will do my utmost to post every day. Let's see if I'm actually able to hold myself to that. Shall we? Cheers.